I think we've seen the end of our beautiful days in Florida. It's pretty toasty out today. All right, guys, so today we are going to be putting together pretty much the ultimate budget NALS combination. And I say budget, I mean, you know, we could spend 20 grand on an NALS combination, or 10 or 15 grand and have a way better, way more gnarly engine. But I feel like this engine for NA applications is the point of diminishing return. Like, if you try to go crazier than this, you're gonna spend a lot more money for a little more power at a time, whereas this level, you spend a reasonable amount of money for a pretty good amount of power. So what we have here is a L92. So this came out of an 07 Escalade. It's an aluminum block, obviously aluminum head, 6.2 liter LS engine, Gen 4 generation. So we're going to be putting this in the LS Miata. So this thing currently has an L33, which is a 5.3 aluminum block truck motor. You can 340, 350. And that's been a good power level for this car for a while, but we're getting into more serious competitions. And we really need and want to put some more power in it. That's what we're doing. So again, that is the platform. I went to Texas Speed for all my engine components. They were super helpful. I mean, just the experience alone was so worth going to them because it made life easy. I'm used to having to track down each of these components across different sites to try to find everything I need and hope all of it's right and listed right and labeled right. Whereas with them, I told them what I'm doing, kind of what I wanted. They sent me a quote, paid for it, done. Came here, everything I need without having to dig through all the stuff myself and make sure I got everything. So what we have is a Texas Speed cam. I don't even remember the specs off the top of my head. 235, 248 duration. We'll have to look at the cam sheet. We'll come back to this. AC Delco head gaskets. These are just factory multi-layer steel head gaskets. I always try to go OEM with OEM style parts like a head gasket. So just AC Delco brand, which is, you know, GM's OEM brand. Texas Speed front main seal, front cover gasket, front plate. So we have this LS2 timing cover because this engine came with variable valve timing, which is this guy here. We're deleting that. The front cover had the variable valve timing stuff that we don't need, but without all the other junk. Good there. CHE brass trunnion upgrade. This is going to be really cool. I'll explain that when we start installing it. Hardened push rods, ARP head bolts. Now this is a little bougie. This isn't something I normally do, but I figured, you know, we're kind of going the extra mile with this engine. Normally I try to keep things budget and, you know, just kind of, it's more fun that way. But you know, this is a pretty nice base to start with, and a relatively expensive base compared to some other truck motors. So I want to do it right. We have a 3-bolt cam gear, so we can use just normal 3-bolt cam. Kitech timing chain. Again, another bougie item. ARP cam bolts. New lifter trays. This is a good thing to replace. These can break. Your lifter spins, destroys your cam. No bueno. Johnson lifters. Timing chain guide. New cover plate. And dual valve springs, good for 660 lift. So this is going to be a pretty baller setup, man. Titanium retainers. This is the most baller GM engine I've built by far. I've had SRs and stuff that have been, you know, pistons, rods, sleeved, whatever, but never built an LS to this extreme. So I'm pretty excited about this. Yeah, it's time to dive in. So first order of business is going to be to finish tearing this thing down. I just wanted to wait until I had the parts in hand before I tore it the rest of the way apart. So we need to get the cam gear off, chain, oil pump, heads off, lifters out, and then we can start slamming all the new parts in. Let's get to it. Alrighty, so we just use a leak down tester to put air into the cylinder here. So we've got it closed right now. We'll crank it up. Getting a lot of air out of this intake valve. Usually you can tap on them. They'll seal up, but this one's not sealing up. All right, I went ahead and leak down tested the rest of the cylinders. We got a tiny bit of air coming out of this one, this exhaust valve. The rest of them are good. That valve, and inspect this valve and just see if there's just some gunk stuck in there that we can clean off if we need to lap them. That is the plan. So let's get these heads off. All right, well, everything looks to be in good shape. We'll be cleaning these pistons and this surface up, but some gunky buildup. So I think that's really all we've got going on, just some gunk stuck in there. So we'll pull that valve out, clean that up a bit, and keep moving on our way, placing our valve springs. Alright, one head down, one to go. I still gotta clean this up, but it's done. You can see what I mean about all the oil deposits left in this engine. The oil is definitely not changed frequently. Just one of those things. I need to stop shooting for low mileage engines. Just get whatever seems to make the most sense. The reason I actually picked this engine too was they had pictures of the vehicle it came out of, the Escalade, and it looked in nice shape. It looked unmodified. It looked well kept, like inside it was clean. It just wasn't all messed up. So it's like, oh, it looks like that person takes care of their vehicle. Probably took care of their engine. Wrong. Alright, I'm gonna clean this crap up, and then we're gonna start cleaning up the block deck, the pistons, and the cylinder heads. Get all that cleaned up, and get the lifters out, and probably the cam out. Get all that out, stripped down, cleaned up. That's next. We can get them out with it. I mean, the motor is definitely a low mileage motor. Just again, it's so slippery. Doesn't seem like it had the oil changed frequently enough. Save 4 of these spare lifters, because these are the updated design. They're surprisingly healthy and not super gummy, so that's good. Let's go ahead and pull this cam out. I'm not 100% sure how this works with the VVT, but we'll figure it out. I love GM for stuff like this. Our crank pulley bolt is the same, oh, it's the wrong impact, is the same size as our cam bolt here. That's interesting. Okay, that'll be easy. Pull our oil pump off. Since we have a dry sump on the LS Miata, we will not be using any internal oil pump like this. Pull this crank pulley bolt. Easy enough. This to pull the cam out. We got no lifters to worry about. The reason I like to replace these is because, we'll see how this one looks. Yeah. This seal, that's an oil pressure seal. The oil goes from this side to this side. Every one I've pulled off, this seal has been like flat, like it doesn't exist anymore. So I have to order one of those. I think I might have an extra one, I'm not sure. Alrighty, cam's out, lifters are out. Stuff some rags in here and then go to town cleaning this. So I've tried just about every method to get the old gasket material off of aluminum block surface. This works okay, but honestly, I'm gonna try it just to see, maybe it'll work this time. Pretty much everything takes off some material, but you gotta get this stuff off. Yeah, that's working pretty good. Well, that cleaned up nicely and easily. Brake cleaner off in a second. Just to compare, that side new, old. All right, just to make it all shiny. Oh man, it is always so satisfying to clean a motor up once you take the heads off, because there's just all that gunk and nastiness. So we got this thing looking fresh. We got a new valley cover. Anyway, yeah, looks good. Next up, we're gonna clean the heads. And then we need to do our rocker arm upgrade, and then it's assembly time. All right, well, I took a little more time to clean the heads up. What, Sans? You here to supervise? You're a little late to the party. We're like halfway done. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Anyway, took some time, clean the heads up. Obviously, they're not hot tank clean, but they're a lot cleaner than they were. That is for sure. Clean enough for me to feel like they're passable. It just looked weird, like putting these nice brand new valve springs in such a dirty head. So I had to do something about it. But anyway, enough jibber jabber. Let's get back to work. So what we're gonna do now is our trunnion upgrade to our rocker arms. First step in the trunnion upgrade is to press out our factory needle bearings. I don't know if I'm going to be able to use a deep socket on this or not. It's a hard nope. Honestly, the worst part about doing this is just trying to get everything lined up in the vise. So you got to hold two sockets and the rocker arm all in the right spot. There we go. Oh, bearings everywhere. That's why you change these. Yeah, we're gonna let these things soak for a little while longer and then start slamming in the trunnion upgrade. It's always so satisfying to see these things all parts washed and stripped out, empty of their detrimental bearings. Went ahead and clean this up too, these trays a little bit. Okay, yeah, let's start doing this. This seems easier than the ones I've done before, the bearing one that I'm used to doing, because I don't think we need to press them together. The bearing ones, you have to press them together. So we need to fill this with some oil because we've got to dunk everything in oil as we assemble it. I don't know if they include an extra snap ring or they accidentally included one or what, but my hands were oily. One of the snap rings went flying off into outer space. You know, the meme, the dun, 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 that's what happened. It's long gone. I looked for it, couldn't find it, but I had enough. And I double checked to make sure I did not put one on any of them. So they must include an extra, which I was hoping they did, because that is definitely something that's pretty easy to lose. You're spreading it out. If it pops off, it's got some energy. But anyway, got it done. Honestly, so much easier than the bearing style trunnion upgrade I did. Again, you don't have to press it in. You just slap it together. Super, super easy. Anyway, Looks sweet too. They look racy, you know, with the CHE laser etched in there. Sweet. All right, so that's done. So my plan was to get this engine completely assembled this video for you guys. I can get through them pretty quick now that I've done them a handful of times. I know pretty much what I need to do, how I need to do it. I don't really have to second guess or look anything up, so I figured we could knock it out quickly. However, I had a change of heart when it came to the cam. So I've always gone with kind of medium cams, never gone super aggressive because, you know, it's a lot cheaper to get a single valve spring, milder cam combo. So on this engine, I was like, you know what, screw it, let's go wild. So went with a Texas Speed Stage 4 cam, and this is a very gnarly cam. 649 lift on the intake, 615 on the exhaust, 235 duration, 248 duration. The downfall with going with a very, very big cam is the larger the cam gets, the longer and further the valve is open. Therefore, the closer you get between your piston and your valve, your piston to valve clearance. Now that comes into play if you are running at higher RPM or you're bouncing off a limiter and your valves float. If you don't have much distance there to begin with, if you have that little bit of float, the piston can slam to the valve, bend the valve. It's bad news bear, right? So my plan was to run this thing at a lower rev limit and try to stay off rev limiter. But as I'm putting this thing together, you know, we're doing the brass trunnion. We got hardened push rods. You know, we've got all this stuff that'll allow us to rev this thing without much worry. And really the cam would be the limiting factor. And knowing myself, even if I tell myself I'm not gonna wanna rev this thing high and I tell myself I'm gonna stay off limiter, it's not gonna happen. It's just not going to happen. So I hit up Texas Speed, and luckily they're awesome enough to exchange the cam for me. So we're going to go down to a stage 3. It's not a whole ton different. You know, it's not like way less aggressive, but it does give us 20 thou more piston to valve clearance. And they, I mean, so helpful because I needed that cam retainer plate. So not only are they exchanging the cam for me, but they're going to be able to get the cam out today with a cam retainer plate and some even gnarlier valve springs, because the stiffer the valve springs will help us also prevent valve float and having any piston to valve issues. And they're getting all of that out today and overnighting it, so it'll be here tomorrow. So huge shout out to Texas Speed. They've been so helpful through all this. Again, just being able to be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Yeah, this is what I need, and not having to go through and find each individual part and everything that works together. They can do all that for me. Like, oh, it's like a luxury, man. And then again, obviously them helping me out with this. So huge thank you to Texas Speed for helping me sort this out and getting us back on track for this engine build. But again, that means we are not going to be able to finish it this video. That is going to be the end of this video. So we'll pick this back up tomorrow. We'll knock out, it'll be, you know, part 2 of the engine build. We'll get this thing completely assembled. Aside from the parts we need to pull off the LS Miata to put on it. But otherwise, we'll have this thing as a complete 6.2, 500 horsepower beast by the end of the next video. So I'll see you guys then. But for now, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Goodbye.